Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, with hunting season underway across the Commonwealth, some tips to stay safe in the woods. And we're about 2 weeks away from Election Day, how the battle for Congress is shaping up.
Plus, after a beautiful weekend, we've got some showers trying to return to the forecast. The breakdown on that ahead as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. As more people hit the woods to go hunting in the next few weeks, it's important to take extra safety precautions. WYMT's Olivia Calfee has tips to help you stay safe.
Deer hunting is a popular activity for many across our region, but being safe while hunting is important. Sergeant Homer Pigman says if you were born on or after January 1st, 1975, you are required to have a hunter education certificate. The card must be with you while hunting.
If you are like a lot of hunters who wait to the last moment and you don't have a hunter education course scheduled or you can't get one, you can do a one-year exemption, but it's good for 1 year. At this moment, it is free.
He says children under the age of 12 are not required to have a hunter education card, but must be with an adult while hunting. And adults cannot have more than 2 children with them at a time. Everyone hunting, even guests, must wear hunter orange.
It needs to be just like these 2 items here. This is what you would want to wear while you're out in the field hunting. This is what it is that is required by all gun hunters.
When you are finished hunting and loading your gun back into your vehicle, make sure it is unloaded.
We have a number of guns that go off in vehicles every year because people put their guns back in and are loaded, and even some of them are cocked. So you want to make sure that that gun's unloaded. We do not have a case law in the state, but it's always recommended that you take your gun, place it in a case, unload it, place it in a case.
Once you get home, remember to keep your guns in a safe place, out of reach from children.
I do keep all my guns locked in the safe. You want to store your ammunition in a separate place, a separate spot, and you want to make sure that gun is unloaded when it's placed in that safe.
He also says it is important to use a safety belt when using a tree stand, saying most injuries occur from people not being cautious. In Perry County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
Sergeant Pigman says most updated tree stands have a safety harness attached to them, but people still need to make sure they are fastened in at all times. Saturday morning, Casey County Sheriff Chad Weddle received the notification no parent ever wants. His 18-year-old son, Dalton, had been killed in a crash. It happened in Taylor County. Sheriff's deputies say Dalton Weddle was driving a Chevy truck just off Kentucky 76 that hit an embankment and crashed into a pond. Weddle died and several others were hurt. After receiving the phone call, Sheriff Weddle called his pastor almost immediately.
Just loved on them the best that we could, prayed and shared some stories, and just tried to be a comfort, encouraging during that time.
The Taylor County Sheriff's Office investigated the crash. Officials say the others in the crash suffered non-life-threatening injuries.
Continuing to watch the sun set through those high clouds out there this evening. If you look close enough, you may even see perhaps a sundog or two out there. Buffalo Mountain camera at this hour, 75 the current reading. You see that sun setting through those high clouds, so we're actually in pretty good shape through much of the region out there. A look at temperatures throughout the region. We will continue to see temperatures on the milder side as we run through tonight. There you see those temperatures in the middle and upper 70s, so it is very warm outside comparatively speaking. You see those high clouds pushing through the region at the moment. We'll continue to see those as we run through the evening. So the next 6 hours out there, conditions continuing to cool down as clouds increase later on tonight. Now coming up, I'll have the latest on when we could see a return to some showery weather. That's in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thanks. President Biden delivered what he calls his closing argument to Democratic Party workers. This as Republicans are gaining ground in the battle for the control of Congress. CBS's Skylar Henry has the latest from Capitol Hill.
President Biden rallied the troops at the Democratic National Committee headquarters with a little more than 2 weeks to go until Election Day.
I'm here to deliver what I believe is a closing argument about what we need to do in the next 15 days.
Republicans have capitalized on a weakening economy to surge in the latest polls.
All the overspending in Washington, they have created the worst inflation since Jimmy Carter was president.
But the president says Democrats need to make a case to voters that Republican policies won't work.
Republicans are doubling down on their MAGA trickle-down economics that benefits the very wealthy, failed the country before, and will fail it again if they win.
The time to turn the tide on the economic message is running out. Millions of Americans have already cast their ballot as early voting is underway in several more states today, including Texas and Florida. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the focus now is on getting voters to the polls.
Now we're down to the stretch, and we're down to very close races, and we feel very confident.
But New York Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney, who chairs the DCCC and is in charge of House Democrat election efforts, is in a fight to stay in Congress himself. The Cook Political Report has shifted Maloney's race with Republican challenger Mike Lawler from leans Democrat to toss-up. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
CBS News has learned the DCCC plans to spend more than $600,000 in advertising in Congressman Maloney's district in an attempt to save that seat. All told, Republicans have already spent more than $6 million in ads. With 2 weeks remaining before the election, early voting turnout numbers are surging. Data from election officials, Edison Research, and Catalyst shows almost 7.3 million ballots have been cast. That's in 39 states. Florida has the highest number of ballots cast with more than 1 million. California and Georgia are each reporting more than 800,000 votes so far. And in Pennsylvania, more than 500,000 ballots have been cast. A new CNN poll shows inflation and the economy are at the top of voters' minds across the country. Right now, it looks like support for each party is split right down the middle, with equal support for Republicans and Democrats. At risk is the democratically controlled U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans say they likely have enough support to take over after votes are tallied on November 8th. Experts say Democratic support from independent voters is slipping away over economic concerns and gas prices. Britain has a new prime minister tonight. Rishi Sunak, who was Treasury Minister under former Prime Minister Boris Johnson and then triggered the revolt that forced him out, will take over after Liz Truss. Sunak lost to Truss in the last leadership election during the summer. CBS's Rami Inocencio is outside 10 Downing Street in London.
Flying 4,000 miles across the Atlantic, ending his family vacation in the Dominican Republic, Boris Johnson touched down in London in a lightning attempt to retake power. But late Sunday, he said it's not the right time for his comeback, claiming he could not unify the party.
I don't want Boris back, thank you.
Prime Minister by this evening.
That paved the way for 42-year-old Rishi Sunak, Johnson's ex-finance minister, to try again. He ran and lost this party's leadership race just last month.
I am prepared to give everything I have in service to our nation.
Sunak is a married father of two, Oxford and Stanford educated. He's of Indian heritage and would be the UK's first person of color and first Hindu as Prime Minister. A former investment banker, he and his wife are reported to be among the country's richest people. Sunak's sole opponent is 49-year-old Penny Mordaunt. With a longer political record than Sunak, she was the UK's first female defense minister, self-styled as a unity candidate.
I'm in this to win it.
The winner will follow Liz Truss.
I am resigning.
Who resigned after just 44 days in office.
I am sorry.
Jeered in Parliament after her budget tanked the stock market and sent the pound plunging. But amid fears of recession and high inflation, yet another prime minister has their work cut out for them.
We've had 5 of them in the last 7 years, and they've not changed one thing in this country. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the middle class like me gets squeezed.
Now, critics are calling this process undemocratic. That is because only conservative members of parliament have a vote today. They number 357. And then looking ahead to Friday, an estimated 170,000 Conservative Party voters across the country have a vote. That is if one candidate does not bow out by then. This is in a country of nearly 70 million people. Opposition parties are calling, demanding for a general election. Rami Inocencio, CBS News, London.
Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, your auto insurance may not be top of mind, but experts say recent inflation is a reason to check your coverage. We explain why, plus one discount you may not know about.
And some potentially soggy weather on the way as we head for the midweek. What this means for temperatures as well on the way.